Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
Were police in the right, or did they use excessive force? New video emerges of a rough arrest in Detroit. Now both sides are weighing in on what happened. Hank.
A popular park, nearby school, kids everywhere, but an alley that's become a big danger. Now residents calling Help Me Hank.
All right, Hank, first, special prosecutors in the Flint water crisis have a new target. Now the state's chief medical officer could soon face a manslaughter charge in that case. Welcome to the show, everybody. A surprise twist in court today at a hearing for Michigan Chief Medical Officer Dr. Eden Wells.
Dr. Wells was due in court for a scheduled hearing on obstruction charges relating to the Legionnaires' outbreak. But that hearing was immediately called off after special prosecutors announced they're pursuing 2 new charges, including involuntary manslaughter. Defender Kevin Dietz joins us now live. And Kevin, what's behind this sudden decision?
Yeah, Karen, prosecutors said they had no choice but to up the charges after they learned new information during the preliminary exam of Health and Human Services Director Nick Lyon. What was expected to be a lengthy preliminary exam turned into a 2-minute court appearance as the Attorney General flipped the script at the last moment and added involuntary manslaughter and misconduct in office charges to the list of offenses they are seeking against Eden Wells.
Additional charges, too, one of involuntary manslaughter and the other of misconduct in office.
Prosecutors say Wells lied to investigators about what she knew and when she knew it in relation to the Legionella outbreak in Flint, where at least 12 people died.
We'd be derelict if we didn't charge, or amend, I should say.
This morning, Special Prosecutor Todd Flood saying new information has surfaced and the original obstruction of justice and lying to investigators wasn't severe enough for Michigan's top medical executive.
Based on new review of other documents and testimony that came out last week, we believe that discovery put us in this place.
Afterwards, Wells could be heard to say she was okay following the courtroom surprise.
She's doing quite well under the circumstances.
Wells, who is still on the job and has the support of Governor Rick Snyder, is one of 15 people charged in the ongoing investigation into the poisoning of Flint's water supply. Only 2 people have taken plea deals and are cooperating. Those who have not are suddenly finding themselves facing additional charges. Wells' attorney says they will fight the manslaughter charge.
We'll fully review any information he provides as to what he thinks the basis might be for those charges and then deal with those charges.
And these new charges really caught everyone by surprise, so they really had no choice but to adjourn the hearing. The judge has rescheduled it for November the 6th. Kevin Dietz, Defenders.
Kevin, often when people are charged, they're normally fired, suspended, but that doesn't seem to be happening for the most part in Flint. Why is that?
No, Governor Snyder is backing these employees. He says he's not going to start letting people go when he believes that Attorney General Bill Schuette is overcharging people for political reasons. In fact, not only are they not being let go, but the attorneys for all of these people charged are being paid for with taxpayer dollars.
All right, thank you. Kevin Dietz live for us this evening. Now to a big story developing right now. An arrest for disorderly conduct in Detroit has turned into claims of excessive force and police brutality.
And we want to point out some of this video might be difficult to watch. It's cell phone video showing a Detroit police officer using his nightstick to arrest a man at the Meijer on 8 Mile and Woodward last night. Now the man's girlfriend is coming forward, and Coco McAvoy spoke with her today.
The Detroit Police Department says 23-year-old David Bivens was arrested for disorderly conduct. But Bivens' girlfriend, Hillary Ross, says it's a case of police brutality. Cell phone video shows 23-year-old David Bivens on the ground with a Detroit police officer for a disorderly conduct arrest.
You are under arrest, sir. No, you are, sir.
In the process, this happened.
Oh!
Hey.
Bivens' girlfriend, Hillary Ross, was there for the chaotic scene.
That was just wrong. That was just wrong. He wasn't doing anything.
So how did all of this start? Ross says,
we walked into the Meijer, went shopping like normal, purchased our items. We did come in with outside bags from another store. We did emphasize to keep them separate so that that way they could see.
She says the officer asked them for a receipt.
The officer, like I said, he was extremely aggressive with it. Just, let me see your receipt, let me see your receipt. After I did show him, I thought he walked away, but I guess not.
And the altercation ensued as a group steadily grew outside. Ross recorded her own video asking the officer questions as Bivens was loaded into the ambulance.
He started using profanity.
So profanity is against the law now?
Ma'am, it's called disorderly conduct, and I tried to get him to shut up.
She's hoping for clarity from the Detroit Police Department.
I understand that sometimes working in this type of environment, things happen, but the only thing I have to ask is why.
Coco McAvoy, Local 4.
And just a short time ago, we did get the police chief to weigh in on this. Chief James Craig saying the suspect was aggressive. Take a listen.
At that point, I call it a quick escalation from what initially turned out to be active resisting to active aggressive. And at that point, the officer removed his side-handle baton, and because at that point the officer believed he was actively or aggressively resisting, the officer gave the suspect several strikes to his upper thigh.
Chief Craig says the investigation into this incident will continue.
2 men rushed to the hospital this afternoon after being shot in their car on Detroit's east side. The men pulled into a Family Dollar parking lot on Kelly and Meringue asking for help, saying they've been shot. Police don't yet know exactly where the shooting took place. They also say the victims are not cooperating with investigators. Clergy, activists, and community members are gathering in Highland Park to address Michigan State's police policies and practices, more specifically, the work of Colonel Christy Echu.
You're looking at live pictures of that event. Echu came under fire after she posted a meme to her Facebook page that described NFL athletes who sit or kneel during the pregame national anthem as, quote, anti-American degenerates. The post came 1 month after the deadly ATV crash of 15-year-old Damon Grimes, who was shocked by a taser fired from a moving MSB patrol car. We're following the story, and we'll have a live report coming up at 6 o'clock. Now let's focus on the weather, because man, was it perfect. Chamber of Commerce weather, if you will.
I think so. Those blue skies, the sun was out, temps in the 70s. It was gorgeous out there, Ben.
Yeah, we never get tired, Karen, of seeing a shot like this. And we've got the temperatures to go with it. We are close to 80 right now at Metro, 79 the number there. Monroe is checked in at 80 degrees. But it is above average, well above average across the entire area. So we've got a comfortable night tonight as temperatures slide into the 60s. We'll keep the humidity low. Skies are going to be mainly clear. Once we get past midnight, there will be some patchy fog that shows up by tomorrow morning. So we'll discuss that. And believe it or not, our next chance of rain is just around the corner. So more on that ahead. Jason.
All right, Ben, now to Washington and an ever-growing war of words. This time, it's harsh criticism of President Trump from an influential member of his own party. In an interview with the New York Times, Tennessee Senator Bob Corker said the president's actions could put America on the path to World War III. Blaine Alexander is at the White House.
Well, Jason, Senator Bob Corker was once under consideration to become candidate Trump's running mate. But now the retiring lawmaker says he's concerned about the president's leadership and says that many other Republicans feel the same way. New shots in the war of words between President Trump and prominent GOP Senator Bob Corker. Corker telling the New York Times the president treats his office like a reality show and worries his actions could lead to World War III. Here's what Corker said about the president last week.
I think Secretary Tillerson, Secretary Mattis, and Chief of Staff Kelly are those people that help separate our country from chaos.
President Trump lashing out over the weekend on Twitter, saying Corker was afraid to run again after the president refused to endorse him. Not true, said Corker, who called the White House an adult daycare center where someone missed a shift. The White House, in turn, blaming Corker for the Iran nuclear deal, which President Trump has suggested he will end.
You know, conservatives have not really forgiven Bob Corker.
But the president may need Corker's vote to move his agenda forward, from new sanctions on Iran to tax reform and immigration. The White House releasing a list of immigration demands in exchange for protection for immigrants who came to America as children, known as Dreamers. Topping that list, funding for the president's border wall. Democrats say, no way. And when President Trump announced last month that he intended to end the DACA program, he promised to work with Congress on a replacement. But now Democratic leaders say that this latest list of demands shows no attempt at a compromise. At the White House, Blaine Alexander, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Blaine. Mystery continues this afternoon to shroud the Las Vegas massacre motive. A week after the mass shooting, investigators still have more questions than answers. Newly released IRS records show Paddock earned $5 million gambling back in 2015. And one gun dealer told police he sold Paddock tracer rounds, bullets that leave a visible trail in the dark. However, investigators remain stumped as to how no one could have known about Paddock's plot. And with many still hospitalized, Samantha Ferranda, who was shot 3 times, is finally going home.
I'm just grateful that I didn't have to completely say goodbye to all the people that I love.
Meanwhile, one of the victims has hired an attorney who is now looking to freeze the gunman's assets. His brother has said Stephen Paddock was a multi-millionaire. The victims want that money to go to a fund to help grieving families.
A Dearborn Heights family is hoping someone will help locate a 14-year-old girl missing since late last week.
Nyasia Spikes was reported missing early last Friday morning. She's described as 5 feet, 2 inches tall, and weighs about 160 pounds. She was last seen wearing black pajama bottoms and a white top. Her family believes someone picked her up in a vehicle. She doesn't have a cell phone and is not active on social media.
Much more to come on a Monday edition of The 5.
Including a wanted man shows you exactly what not to do when on the run, how he's gained national attention. And it's been a record year for Michigan farmers, but that might not end up being a good thing. Hank.
Hi, Karen. We're live on the east side. Take a look at this alley. If you think it looks blighted and full of debris now, you should have seen it just a few days ago. It's a popular pass for kids making their way to school, and they've called Help Me Hank to investigate.
But first, a popular ESPN personality and Detroit native suspended. We'll explain why next at 5.
It's new. New at 6.
Video you have to see to believe. Local police try to stop an ambulance stolen from a hospital in Macomb County. See how they finally ended the joyride.
Plus, another local mother in a legal fight over refusing to vaccinate her child. New at 6, the reason behind her objection and why today's testimony made the judge so upset.
ESPN has suspended Detroit native Jemele Hill for 2 weeks after it says she broke its social media guidelines for the second time. After Jerry Jones said he would bench players that took a knee during the national anthem, Hill tweeted, "If people don't agree with what he said, to boycott his advertisers." The first time Hill was in trouble over a tweet was last month when she called President Trump a white supremacist.
Alleys that run through many Detroit neighborhoods are the property owner's responsibility. But what happens when the homes are demolished and the land is vacant and a mess? In one Detroit neighborhood, the alley has become blighted and dangerous, wires hanging down in a path children use to get to school. Our consumer investigator, Hank Winchester, is there live tonight. And Hank, it is more than just an alley.
It certainly is, Karen. It's a popular path for hundreds of kids here. In fact, take a look. You can see there's a school and a rec center here behind me, a basketball court over to my right filled with kids, especially on a nice day like today. Now, the land bank and the crew from AT&T, they've already done some work here. You can see wires were already put up back on the pole, and some more heavy-duty work is going to continue here tomorrow.
We need help with the cleaning and the moving of these trees and the wires.
Trash, overgrown shrubs, downed trees, and broken dangling wires. This alley on the east side of Detroit has become a blighted mess, and neighbors are now concerned for their safety.
You can't get through this. You cannot walk through this right here.
These homes were demolished by the land bank months ago, and while the property is being maintained, the alley clearly needs some help. The biggest problem, kids walk through this alley to get to Butzel Park and also to make their way to the Garvey Academy School. Neighbors contacting me to get some answers.
Help us come through here so nobody can get electrocuted and we can be able to get back to passing and seeing our kids on the field.
We called AT&T, crews out there right away, taking care of some of those dangling wires and raising some of them higher up. Next on the list, the Detroit Land Bank.
We've demolished almost 13,000 houses in the last 3.5 years, which is a huge number. And again, so it said sold 8,000 side lots. We've got another 3,000 houses that we've sold that are being renovated across the city.
Director of Public Affairs Craig Foley came out to survey the alley and meet with some of those concerned residents.
when it's a priority situation like this and there are children involved, schools involved, that is going to take priority, and we're going to do our best to find a way to make it happen.
Crews are coming back out tomorrow to clean up any other issues near that alley and to make the paths safer, not only to the park, but also to the school for the kids in this area.
Thanks to you and all of your crew at Channel 4. You're doing fantastic work.
Back out here live, but there's still work to do. Again, this property maintained and taken care of by the land bank, and you can see the vacant lot itself is in good shape. But again, the concern is more about this alley because so many kids use this to cut through the neighborhood and make their way over to the school and the rec center. Again, more work will be done here tomorrow. We'll, of course, be back to give you an update. For now, we're live here on the east side. Back to you.
All right, Hank, so if someone does have questions about vacant property in their neighborhood, what steps are they supposed to take? Who are they supposed to contact?
Exactly. It gets very confusing, Karen, because you've got some city-owned lots, you've got those owned by the land bank. So the best thing you should do, step number one, is to get in touch with your district manager. We have all the information for all the district managers in the city on the Help Me Hank page at clickondetroit.com. They can help you navigate and find out who owns the lot and then go from there.
All right, some great work. Thank you, Hank.
Well, I don't know if you're like me. I'm afraid to look at the long-term outlook, so I'm just looking one day at a time. Another great day. Maybe tomorrow will be that way.
Are you coaching football on this
Yeah,
side?
I know. I don't know what exactly.
One day at a time, man. One play at a time.
You know, if it wasn't for the leaves turning colors, I don't think we would know it was October.
It is quite peculiar.
It is numbers that we'll take. 79 is where we sit right now, and the rest of the southern part of Michigan doesn't feel a whole lot different. A lot of mid-upper 70s. Mount Pleasant's at 80. Grand Rapids is at 79. And Kalamazoo is at 79 too. So even though we didn't quite hit 80 degrees today, we've done it 3 times this month so far. And when you look back at the past 10 years, there's only been 5 80-degree days in the month of October, again, for the past 10 years. So this last Tuesday when we hit 85, that was the warmest October temperature that we have had in Detroit in 10 years. And we may do it again before the forecast is done. So things are looking great from the ground and they're looking great from the sky too. We got this hit on Storm Pins. It says it's in West Bloomfield, but we'll take their word for it. But it looks fantastic no matter what vantage point that you've got on this great weather outside. Now, as we get later into tonight, we're going to stay mainly clear till we get past midnight. And it's tough to tell here, but you can see the computer models trying to paint some fog in a couple locations as we head towards daybreak tomorrow. Probably not real dense and not very widespread, and don't anticipate that it's going to last very long, but it's going to be noticeable in a couple places. And then during the day tomorrow, clouds will steadily increase as we get into Tuesday night. That's going to lead to rain chances on Wednesday, and it looks like we could get a good dose of moisture by the time we hit to the middle of this week. 54 tonight. Skies mainly clear and comfortable, and again, we will be watching for that fog to develop as we head towards daybreak tomorrow. Let's check out highs tomorrow, which not quite as warm as what we saw today, still above average. Average highs this time of year, mid-60s, so we're going to hit 70 in the city and probably at the airport for the official high as well. South zone temperatures all low 70s down here as you head towards the state line. Then we'll see a lot of 60s here in our west zone, maybe hitting 70 down towards Ann Arbor and Canton, but generally mid to upper 60s. And the cool spot is going to be in our north zone, anywhere between 61 and Sandusky, Lexington at 63, and we've got mid 60s down here towards M59 for high temperatures tomorrow. We're going to continue going down, especially as we get that good rain chance on Wednesday. So not a lot of sunshine there, and most of that rain is going to be in the second half of the day. We will be dry for Thursday through the start of the weekend. And notice temperatures on Saturday with partly cloudy skies, 77 degrees. So it's not going to take much to maybe inch up to 80 in a couple spots.
It's been crazy.
It's so good.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Much more to come at 5, including this.
A local graffiti artist has been discovered by the police, but not in the way that you might be thinking. I'll explain why that local artist and the police department are teaming up.
All right, Kim, but first, hey, just a little walk around money, right? You know, like 150 grand in cash. We'll tell you why police say this guy was carrying it next. Across Michigan tonight, stories from Traverse City and big news affecting farmers all over the state.
We want to start off in Muskegon tonight, and that's where police say they have arrested a major heroin dealer. Miguel Botello Garcia has been charged with possession with intent to distribute more than 1,000 grams of heroin, possession with intent to deliver between 50 and 450 grams of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine, and also felony firearm for possessing a rifle. Detectives also seized $144,000 in cash.
In Traverse City, a 4-year-old finds a loaded handgun in a bathroom stall. On Friday, a father went to the Macy's at the Grand Traverse Mall with his 3- and 4-year-old daughters. Since the kids are young, he took both of them into the men's room. He gave the girls some privacy by standing outside of the stall doors. When one of his daughters asked him about something she found, a gun, the father was able to get a hold of the weapon and call police. They are investigating. This year, Michigan farmers are seeing record corn and soybean crops, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Farmers have stockpiled so much food, they don't have a place to put it all. Corn stocks have climbed 26% from last year, while soybeans are up 20%. But only about 38% of these bushels can be stored, leaving farmers at a loss. For the time being, they'll keep it in silos, ship it to collective storage facilities, or sell it, hoping it doesn't go to waste.
New at 5:30.
So you call 911 for help and dispatchers send a drone. It sounds like science fiction, but researchers are putting the idea to the test. And coming up, I'll show you who it might help most and the challenges that really need to be overcome.
Just as your entertainment options have changed in downtown Detroit,
we have venues as small as 2,000 seats and 4,000 seats and 7,000 seats.
they also need to change the way they do business in entertainment around here. We'll tell you how that affects you.
His name is Champagne Torino. Okay, that's not his real name. He goes by that on Facebook, and he's been trolling the Redford Township Police. But now the joke's on him.
We did our part, so we're giving him the opportunity to do his.
He issued a challenge. The police have answered. Your move, Mr. Torino.
This week.
He's the guy who picked the wrong group to mess with. A man tempts fate with Redford Township Police on Facebook and quickly learns what you shouldn't do to stay out of trouble. Good evening. It all started with a Facebook post by a wanted man.
He goes by the name Champagne Torino. Here it is. He says, and as fake names go, that's a pretty good one. If your next post gets 1,000 shares, he'll turn himself in along with a dozen donuts.
Well, you can probably guess what happened next. Yep, they got to 1,000 shares, quickly announcing it with a mic drop. Let's get to Steve Garagiola. He's live tonight. And Steve, this story made national headlines.
It has actually now made some international headlines. Champagne Torino, which by the way is a really amazing name, not his real name, has been in this back and forth conversation with Redford Police for some time now. But he raised the stakes, and the police, keeping it all in fun for now, tossed it right back and said, Mr. Torino, it's your move. The man known on Facebook as Champagne Torino has badgered Redford Township Police with taunts for some time now.
The last few weeks, Mr. Torino has had a few comments for us, most of which have not been very polite.
I think the way some people term it is he's been trolling our page. Yeah.
Mr. Torino changed the game when he posted a challenge to Redford Police that he would turn himself in and bring donuts and clean up trash around Redford schools if they posted his challenge and it got at least 1,000 shares. It no doubt surprised him when Redford Police accepted.
I don't think that's what he expected us to do, was share his message, and when we just screenshot his message and put it on there, in an hour we had 1,000 shares.
Late this afternoon, the post has gotten about 4,000 shares, but Mr. Torino has failed to honor his part of the deal. He is still a no-show.
We did our part, so we're giving him the opportunity to do his.
Redford Police have had some fun with this, but it's not a joke. Police know who he is, and he's wanted on a handful of local misdemeanors for which he will be held accountable, whether or not he shows up with donuts.
He may or may not turn himself in, but if he doesn't, there's enough people now that know who he is and know where he is, and it's a matter of time.
Well, they were very surprised at the number of requests they have gotten today from media outlets all across the country, even a couple outside the country. And they did want to emphasize they did this because they want to work with the community He is, by their quotes, not a very nice man, but they don't see him as dangerous. Back to you.
Steve, how long are police willing to wait for Champagne?
Well, you know, that's a good question. They said they want to give him the opportunity to do the honorable thing. He said he would turn himself in, so they hope he will, but it will be just a matter of a few days. If he doesn't, they will go get him. So, Mr. Torino, it's on you, man.
Honorable. Yeah, we shall see. All right, Steve, thanks. Karen?
Well, downtown Detroit, as the center of the region's entertainment offerings, is realized with Little Caesars Arena. Yet, there's one final and logical step to complete: the transformation, consolidating the business units. Business editor Rod Maloney shows us tonight how it's about to change the ticket buying landscape. Rod.
With Little Caesars Arena, a whole lot changes in Metro Detroit. Palace Sports Entertainment over here, Olympia Entertainment over here, come together as one. We already have that with the Pistons and Red Wings playing together, but now the thing is you have to get the business units together. And they did that today with the flip of the switch on a web page. When Bob Seger played, the Palace closed last month. It ended a Metro Detroit entertainment era. The 6 Olympia and Palace concert venues will now operate as one. And you'll find everything you need to know about how it works on 313presents.com. It's the new website for Little Caesars Arena, Comerica Park, the Fox Theater, along with Meadowbrook, Michigan Lottery Amphitheater at Freedom Hill, and DTE Energy Music Theater. Olympia Entertainment CEO Tom Wilson believes it takes competition out of the equation to create better customer service.
When the concert was coming to the city, you weren't really sure exactly what venue it was playing in, so the chase began, and you had to go scroll through everything. And now this is, again, the one-stop shop for probably 500 different events.
He also believes it's going to change Detroit's relationships with artists, especially emerging talent.
You can take young artists as we work towards building careers here, and you can take them from a 2,000-seat arena through the Fox Theater, through Meadowbrook, through DTE, and all the way up to Comerica if they happen to have that kind of a career path.
Size and scale is key here, and he believes 6 venues working in lockstep will give heft the music industry respects.
But it's going to be a really influential player, and I think that sheer size is one of the things that's going to help us with agents and managers in terms of driving more talent and more options for the fans here.
You may have noticed this construction along Woodward Avenue next to the Little Caesars Arena, also the headquarters for Little Caesars. And it is the building where they're going to make the new corporate headquarters. And moving in here will also be the Palace Sports Entertainment people, and that will happen next month. In downtown Detroit, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
It's going to be a Columbus Day cleanup for many people along the Gulf Coast today.
Residents there are dealing with residual flooding and power outages in the aftermath of Hurricane Nate. Ben joins us now with the very latest on what they're expecting over the next couple of days.
Yeah, usually when a hurricane moves through, we see pretty good weather. The sun comes out, everything dries out. And fortunately, that's going to be the case because those affected by the late Hurricane Nate begin the process of getting their lives back on track. It's a gradual process, but progress is being made. The flooded causeway in Mobile, Alabama has also reopened to traffic and holiday vacationers, as well as those popular casinos in Biloxi, Mississippi that had shut down. Also, crews in Gulf Shores, Alabama already at work cleaning up the beaches as they get ready for today's big shrimp festival.
We'll be able to come in here, clean things up, and directly behind us will be the setup for the tents and the vendors, and looking forward to a hopefully good forecast for the rest of the week.
So Nate, we say goodbye to it. That storm really pulled out pretty quickly. We have Ophelia, the O storm, which is out in the Atlantic, but thank goodness it's just going to sit out there and do no damage to it.
Yeah, still a long season. It's such a long hurricane season, people.
Very active this year.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thousands of people are being evacuated from Napa and Sonoma counties in California as wildfires burn in that area.
It really is a scary scene in California, in the counties just north of San Francisco, as fires burn all throughout wine country. In Santa Rosa, 2 hospitals had to be evacuated. More than a dozen fires are burning tens of thousands of acres of land as low humidity and high winds have made things incredibly hard for firefighters to keep up. Officials are concerned with the speed of the fires.
Right now, with these conditions, we can't get in front of this fire and do anything about the forward progress.
Winds are expected to die down over the next few days, which will make the fires easier to control.
Well, here's something you don't see every day. A local graffiti artist is actually teaming up with police, but it's not for what you think. Our Kim DeJulio shows us how they've come together to spruce up a long neglected part of West Bloomfield's police headquarters.
Most of the time we hear about police officers catching people doing graffiti around town. But here in West Bloomfield, the police department is actually embracing it, at least in their own police department gym. The West Bloomfield Police Department wanted to bring some life to their new gym at their police station, so they figured, why not put some street art on the walls? Or as police officers would normally call it, graffiti. They heard about this guy, Antonio A.G., aka Shades, a well-known graffiti artist from Detroit.
I've done work with Quicken Loans, I've done work with Federal Mogul.
He's been making his mark around town since he was a teenager, and not always legally.
I am a vandal. I am that kid that, you know, did the streets, tagged the streets.
West Bloomfield Police wanted to bring his vibrant work to their gym, so they called him up.
What do you think about coming to West Bloomfield and doing some graffiti art within a gym within the police department? And he paused and he was kind of quiet and he said, let's do it.
Shade says he was a little weary about the opportunity when he got that call.
Okay, let's be real. If you got a cop calling you from the police station and you're a graph artist and you know what it's like being in a police station, your heart kind of races for a moment.
The end result is a masterpiece. The boring white walls have transformed into a bright place for the WBPD to work out in. Shade says after decades of being a graph artist, this project was one of his favorites to do.
Because it's just like, it was one of those things that just like, you wouldn't believe a graph artist was painting in a police station, right?
Reporting in West Bloomfield, I'm Kim DeJulio, Local 4.
Yeah, I like that story. He got out without the cuffs. Shade's also done work for companies like Fiat. You can also check out his art around downtown Detroit.
NBC continues their opioid series, One Nation Overdosed, a generation at risk. Tonight on Nightly News, I got a chance to talk with correspondent Kate Snow earlier today about her story with Tori. Tori is a 14-year-old young lady who lived the first 10 years of her life with an addicted mother.
She tells a story of neglect. She talks about having to take care of herself, having to make her own meals, never seeing a doctor or a dentist for the first 10 years of her life. It's heartbreaking to listen to her, but she said she wanted to tell her story to help other children.
When she was talking with you, did she feel like this was a normal scenario? This was just all she knew?
No, I think she's mature enough now to know, Tori's mature enough now to know that this is not normal, that most kids have more parenting, and she's a little bit angry about it. She's disappointed in what happened, but she does have a relationship now with her mother. Her mother has now been sober for 3 years. She lives with her grandparents, but she still has a relationship with her mom, and she says she's proud of her mom for getting help.
You can catch Kate's very emotional story tonight on Nightly News following Local 4 News at 6.
And we have an entire resource center on clickondetroit.com filled with information on the opioid epidemic, including some of our reports and survivor stories. Just go to the Opioid Nation page. Michigan's majestic fall colors are just about to pop, and there's a really cool way we know it's happening.
Yes, how a snapshot taken from thousands of miles away is helping predict prime time for leaf peeping.
And a bus driver takes off with a man hanging on the hood of the car. Now here at 5:30, new, I should say, more of this incredible video and why police say the driver was doing the right thing. Hey, Doc.
Hey guys, drones delivering medical supplies in the sky. Well, it could be the future of emergency medicine. I'll show you who it might help most and the challenges that really need to be overcome.
New at 6.
He was fired, now he's firing back. A local city's ex-police chief making some big allegations against the officials he says forced him out for their own gain.
Plus, the opioid crisis has pharmacies setting new limits on how many pills a person can get at one time. But there's a downside to that many of us may not realize. That's new at 6.
In good health tonight, in certain medical emergencies, time is of the essence and minutes can be the difference between life and death.
And that's why researchers are looking into ways to deliver life-saving equipment, even using more drones. Dr. Frank McGeorge is here now with more on that story, and it is very innovative.
Definitely, Karen and Jason. You know, let me start with a confession. I am a huge drone enthusiast, also known as a nerd. Drones like this one can travel overhead straight from a rescuer to a patient at 50 miles an hour, bypassing difficult terrain or other obstacles, which is exactly why some doctors think this could be a game changer. A squadron of medical rescue drones. This could be the future of emergency medical services. Research was presented today on the telemedical drone project known as HERO, short for Health Integrated Rescue Operations, inspired by the emergency medical response to a large tornado that hit a Mississippi town in 2013. This and similar products has the potential to deliver supplies to treat traumatic injuries, inhalers for breathing problems, or even epinephrine to treat deadly allergies.
Please put on the gloves, glasses, and the earpiece, and then select your emergency.
The idea is even more ambitious, though. Using virtual reality glasses, it could be possible to bring the guidance of a doctor to the person on scene. The idea is to bring help to remote, difficult-to-access locations, or, in the event of a disaster, act as a force multiplier, as this simulation portrays.
Great job. I have to check on another patient. I'll be right in your monitor.
Allowing one person to help in multiple locations. Now, other researchers are investigating the use of drones to deliver AEDs quickly during a cardiac arrest. Now, all of these things are great for areas of investigation, but on a practical side, there are serious limitations to the flight distances when they're carrying any kind of significant payload, and it's unlikely they're going to have any advantage in well-populated areas where an ambulance could probably get there just as quickly as one of these.
That's exactly what my thought was. I mean, how practical are we going to, I guess, trial and error with this?
Well, the main thing is right now, this is going to be for rescue scenarios in places that you cannot get to. So if there is, a river that needs to be traversed, if there's a bunch of trees down in a road and you can't get emergency medical care, then this is the way to go, because you can just fly equipment there and have a doctor on scene.
Very
Cool.
interesting, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Doc.